Welcome back to the Hot Pockets MLG Columbus pregame show. I'm Chris Puckett, and joining me now, my MLG experts, DMAQ and Scott. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm awesome, Chris. I love this Columbus venue. They always bring a lot of excitement here, and I think this one's better than last year.
Better than last year already?
Columbus is always my favorite event, and for good reason. The crowd comes out here. Everybody's excited. Columbus is going to be awesome.
All right, guys. Now, we have heavyweight in the stands. We have Eric French, who is our crazy monster going loud in the stadium last time. But before we talk about Columbus and the awesome fans that are here, we got to talk about Orlando. Now, Orlando was kind of a ridiculous start to this season. Lots of surprises.
A lot of surprises, and it came down to Instinct getting their very first victory. You saw Instinct follow back Roy and Lunchbox getting their very first win, and then you look at Final Boss, the revitalization. Finally a top 3 team again. And then you look at Status Quo. After all the lands, finally breaking into the top 4, it must have felt good. Classic solidifying themselves as a top 2 team as well.
Yeah, that too. But, you know, the thing to me is that in the first time in MLG history, the top 3 teams did not place in the top 4.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
None of the top 3 teams placed in the top 4, and that just shows the evolution of this game. We saw how before in 2008 and 2009, it was all about the main Slayer. Now it's all about Unison. You see Instinct, they always work together, and there's always 2 guys on 1 guy.
And you know, we talked about it before the pregame, at the pregame show in Orlando, the level of competition, how teamwork prevails over great firepower, and we definitely saw it all weekend in Orlando.
Absolutely. Now, some of our top teams, like you said, Scott, Triggers Down, straight ripping. They didn't place well, and Triggers Down was actually the first team to make a major team move since Orlando, and it was a huge, controversial move here. They dropped Pistola for Tots.
Yeah, you know, I mean, with the addition of Neighbor, you'd notice that they changed their gameplay. They tried to contain Pistola, but you just can't contain Pistola. You got to let him do his own thing. So what did they do? They go out and pick out a player who took Final Boss from 8th to 3rd, and that's Tots. It's not going to be a question whether or not this team's going to be prepared. It's just about how Tots is going to fit on this team.
And, you know, I expect Tots to play well on this team. Obviously, they lost a lot with Pistola. You have a 3-time MVP, the most positive player in 2009. I didn't quite understand the move, but what I did see from Tots, like you said, he brought Final Boss from 8th to 3rd. What increases? The communication, the practice regime, everything like that is going to increase with the Triggers Down squad, and that might make them a little better in the long run. It certainly didn't help at the LAN.
Well, a team that was helped out at the LAN, that was Carbon, and those guys made a huge improvement once they re-added Nated to their lineup.
And Carbon had a very disappointing tournament. They had an 11th place finish in Orlando. They come here, and now they pick up Nated. And the thing is, we've seen what Nated could do to a team. We saw what he did last year after Columbus brought the team from 8th to 3rd instantaneously, and it's because he possesses that superstar ability. Nated could take over a game at any point, and that's why he's such an exciting player to watch, and that's why he's going to improve this Carbon squad.
And the thing about it is that Carbon didn't even play that bad at the last event. They just went up against straight ripping early on, and then they weren't able to bounce back from it. So, I mean, when you add a player like Nated, you're going to get results from him. We've seen what he's done in the past, like you said, but last time, this year, he didn't make it out of AM at this event. He wants to redeem himself.
All right, well, we will be seeing Carbon later on tonight. We'll get to that later. But, guys, now we got to talk about the last major move there, and that is going to be Heaven and Earth. Now, they lost Nated. He went to Carbon, but I think they got stronger with their new pickups.
And I definitely agree with you, Puckett. When you look at what Heaven and Earth did, they added Strong Side and Cypher. Obviously, they lost Nated. They had no control over that situation. But when you add Strong Side, the second most positive player in all of 2009, not a lot of people know that. This guy was an absolute beast in 2009. And then you add Cypher, one of the more impressive players at last year's championships. We saw him fill in the Final Boss role. He did a very good job. Second most positive player on the team, most time for the team. He did whatever had to get done. If you add these 2 players to this Heaven and Earth squad, which they did, I certainly think they can improve, and that's what they're going to do here in Columbus.
And the thing with it is that Cypher is an objective player, and that's what Heaven and Earth needed. Now, Killer Drew and Clutch are very structural players, so I knew Karma wasn't going to last long. That's why I really like this squad, and Puckett's predicting them in their top 8, which we'll get to later. But I really like this squad, and I'm very interested to see how they match up for Status Quo.
And they're going to be playing Status Quo in our first match of the Doritos Friday Night Kickoff. Guys, that's going to do it for team changes. We're going to a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we'll break down the top 10 teams in the league.